What's up guys, today I'm going to be reviewing and speedrunning some new IEMs. There's a lot of them, and starting off with the one that surprised me the most, this is the Myers CKLVX D62. If you're looking for an all-rounder set that is engaging and dynamic, then these are it. The low end is punchy, it's impactful, it's well controlled with good texture, the vocals pop out just enough and feels naturally extended, doesn't feel weak or kind of like recessed like the 5+2. And tech wise, the D62 sits around the Super Mix 4, the Hype 4, aka you can expect pretty solid performance out of these bad boys. I'm also using TANZGU Senkai white tips, which I highly recommend. I think it's basically mandatory if you want to take these to its fullest potential, because the stock tips sound a little bit like sharp, it sounds a bit peaky, it makes the sound overall not as natural and smooth, and the opening is a lot bigger on the Senkai whites, makes the soundstage feel a bit wider, whereas stock tips a little bit smaller in the hole and also just not as refined and smooth as the Senkais. And while I was testing them, I basically just hit shuffle on my entire library and just forgot about them and just kind of vibed out for 3 hours. I think they play every genre back very well, no issues, very balanced but still like engaging, still fun, still a bit lively in the treble, and you get that slam in the low end as well. So these are very good if you want something well-rounded but still fun. I actually prefer these over the Super Mix 4, the Nova, the Chopin, because it is more musical, it's more engaging, it's fuller in the low end, and personally, as an all-rounder, I would take these over the other ones with the Senkai white tips because of the dynamics. But if you do want something cleaner and smoother than the Super Mix 4, the Nova, Chopin also have their spots as a clean all-rounder sound. On the other hand, if you're looking for something bassier, then the Hype 4s and the T-Pros will still work better as a bassier set. They are deeper when it comes to the sub bass, it's thicker, it slams a little bit harder, and you just feel the impact more on those sets. And for bass sets, the DEUCE will still be the go-to at around $200. Just don't buy it from FATFREQ. Get from Linso or something, like anywhere else is fine. And as for neutral sets, the Tangent Origin would still be a good pick. I would take that over the 5+2 personally. And you also have the Performer 8 if you want like a dead neutral sound, as well as the Chino for something cheaper. But overall, I highly recommend the D62 with the Senkai white tips, which makes them not only smoother but still maintaining the dynamics. And to me, they are the best out of the recent $200 sets that came out, like the 5+2 and the ANVIL, which I will get into now. As for the ANVILs, unfortunately, I can't really say the same for these. Starting with the low end, the bass has the slam, it has the impact, it's pretty punchy overall, there is like energy in the low end, but it's more like forward in the mix, and the bass notes are smooth and not very resolving. Reminds me of like the 6-1Ts, but like just with more mid bass. I often found the mid bass to be a little bit distracting, not only because of the quantity and how forward it is, but also like in the texture, or should I say the lack of, because basically the bone conduction does basically nothing in the low end. No extended reverb, no extra vibrations, no tactility. For example, when I was testing Birds of a Feather on the ANVIL and the Bajie, which also has a bone conduction driver that's already very subtle, but with the Bajie you can at least feel a small reverb shake, like kind of going down into your chest areas, whereas on the ANVIL the decay in the notes basically is like trapped around your neck, like above your head, and creates like this inside your head kind of feeling to the sound, which doesn't, you know, disperse down and, you know, continuing the reverb down to your chest like the Bajie. So what that means is that the bone conduction driver in the ANVIL doesn't really work when it comes to the low end, which I guess makes sense because, you know, PULA did advertise it as helping to improve like the imaging and the resolution more, which credits to them. The bone conduction driver is more noticeable when it comes to the upper mids and the treble. Things feel a little bit sharper, things feel a little bit more pronounced and slightly like edgier. However, although this extra added sharpness does help with the imaging, it also hurts the timbre as things feel a little bit peaky and a little bit like jaggedy in the overall sound. There's this added graininess in certain songs with lots of treble, like Model for example. I wouldn't say it's horrible, it is more subtle, but once you notice it, you can't really unnotice it, I guess. So timbre wise, I would put the ANVIL around the same as the 5+2 with its planar sizzliness. I wouldn't say that like neither of them are deal breakers because of it, but it's not going to be as natural as something like a Sonian or a Knowles, or even the custom BAs that the D62s are using when you use these Senkai tips. But speaking of tips, I did try the Senkai whites on the ANVIL, and it did help reduce the jaggediness and the graininess on it by a little bit, but it's not as smooth as the D62s with the Senkai whites, which is not as smooth as some of the Sonians and like Knoll sets. Now vocal wise, because of the more forward and prominent mid bass, it does kind of get in the way of the vocals. The vocals aren't as laid back and, you know, weak as the 5+2, but it's not ideal when you compare it to the D62, which pops out just enough and just feels very balanced, where this does feel a little bit congested at times. Stage wise, again, the ANVIL has a very inside your head kind of presentation. It's noticeably less wide when you compare it to the D62s or the 5+2s, and overall resolution and tech is just, I guess it's just like average for the price, slightly behind the 5+2 and like a full step behind the D62s. So basically, it seemed like they saw the success of the T Pros and then they tried to copy it, but they failed in both tuning and the driver quality department. So overall, I would not really recommend the ANVIL because the bone conduction driver is not very well implemented. The bass is a little bit like smooth, a little bit boomy, and the overall timbre is not the best in this price category. I would just go for the D62. It's just the better all-rounder set. It's better tuned as a mid-volume set. It has a better low end, it has clearer vocals, wider stage, more technical, or if you want something, you know, relaxing, you can even go for the 5+2, which I would say is overall slightly better than the ANVIL, but I would still put it in the it depends tier. But moving on, I'm going to be speedrunning through the rest of these, and starting with the EPZ Q5 Pro, these are a solid option if you want a slight V-shaped sound that's still well balanced. They remind me of the EM6L, and basically it's just a mini version of the EM6L, similar sound but not as smooth and technical, although not as bright either, a little bit more bassier for half the price of the EM6L. So yeah, give these a shot if you want to change things up. I recommend these. Now, similar to the Q5 Pro, the 7Hz G1 is a even more V-shaped version of the Q5 Pro. You're gonna get more bass, a little bit more treble. It's not as balanced, and I would say it's not as refined as the Q5 Pro, but for the price, it's a pretty decent set if you want a V-shaped sound signature. I would recommend it. It's pretty fun, pretty enjoyable. Next, for the KEFINE Clean, these are basically the original DELCIs, but with an extra tuning option on top, and they're now $15 cheaper. So if you're thinking of getting the original DELCI for something warm, just get the cleans. They are basically the same thing. The black nozzle brings more energy to the upper mids and makes the clean similar to the EW200. So if you were in a dilemma choosing between a warm set and a more like bright, exciting set, now you don't need to worry because you get both of them in one IEM while still having, you know, decent technical performance, which is why I do recommend the clean, as it is a good starter set that is affordable and pretty flexible on top. Moving on, we have the SIVGA Chue, and these are great if you want something warm, bassy, but still well extended in the vocals and pretty well balanced and gives you that energy. They have just the right amount of upper mids to cut through the meat of the mid bass, which is pretty well controlled because it is using a beryllium dynamic driver. You get the impact, but it's not overly warm and congested because it is quicker. If I were to nitpick, I would like a little bit more air, but you can only do so much with a single dynamic driver when it comes to the treble past like 10k. Pretty solid set. I love the design on these. It's got this like wood metal finish to it. Classy, clean, comes with a great cable and case, and overall the Chue is solid pick if you want a warm and fun sound. Recommended. Next, we have the DUNU KIMA 2 with the overall sound being neutral, warm, with a very relaxing and laid-back presentation. This is a set for chill listening, complete opposite to the Chue and the Q5 Pro and the clean stuff like that. The overall resolution is on the softer side, as it's got like this smooth and soft vibe going for it. If you enjoyed the KINERA Ching or the Abyss, then you're gonna enjoy these. They are very similar sound-wise, but a small issue is that the vocals do sound a little bit weak, soft, and a little bit too relaxed on times. They're not very powerful or extended. It's not very engaging or detailed because it is very tame when it comes to the 3 to 5k region. Now obviously that's not the sound that the KIMA 2 is trying to go for, since if you add more energy, it defeats the whole purpose of being a chill, relaxing, smooth listen. But you know, just something to note if you want more vocals, if you're a vocal lovers, this is probably a set that you would want to avoid, although I can understand why someone would like these. Plus the cable and the build is very high quality. Overall, I would say it's not necessarily for me, but I can see why someone would like it, or you know, why someone would go for it. Next, I'm going to be speedrunning through some other IEMs, and starting off with the KADENZ. This is a big nope. You should not be buying this. If you can get it for $100, then maybe, because I do think it is just very overpriced. The EW300 is just a better version of this. The TANZGU Xuanyu is just this, but like cheaper for half the price. This is low-key a scam is what I'm trying to say. And next we have the QUARKS DSP2. Now this is kind of like the KIMA 2, where it's like neutral, smooth, like soft sounding, but it is DSP. It has some artifact with the Moondrop DAC inside, so I'm gonna put it in maybe because of that. Then we have the TANZGU Yuxuanji. Now I like this a lot because this has like this airy feeling to the sound, and overall if you want a clean set, skip the QUARKS DSP2, save up for the TANZGU. Like, it's very unique for what you can find at $50. So yeah, I would recommend it. And after that, we have the KINERA Ignite Beast X. So these are pretty good for gaming, I would say. They are more vocal centric. The vocals pop out more. They're less airy. They're, I guess, more well-rounded, more all-rounded. And overall, if you want an all-rounder set with like a little bit more emphasis in the vocals, these would be a solid pick. Then after those, we have the KZ EDC Pro. Now, I would put it in no because it's KZ, but you can get these for $1, and at that point, it's kind of top tier when it's on sale. Because of the pure value, I'm gonna put it, it's either in top tier or it's in recommended. You know, since it's KZ, I'm gonna split the difference and put it I put it in recommended. But after that, we have the EW300. This is just a better version of the KADENZ for like half the price. This is top tier in my opinion. The value on this is insane. It's very close to the EA500LM in terms of the resolution, but it's like better in the QC. There's less treble variance, and overall it works better as a all-rounder. And if you get the DSP version, you get pretty much 4 different tuning choices, because you switch out the DSP cable for a 3.5, 4.4, whatever, then you switch up the nozzles, and then you end up with 4 different sounds. So these are very good value, and it's still top tier. Then after them, we have the Inawaken Dawn NEMs. These are very good for a bassy, warm sound. I think I like these more than the original DELCIs. It's fairly affordable, I would say. It's not like super expensive. Like, they're not overcharging you like the KADENZ. So because of that, I would recommend them as a bassy, warm set. And then after that, we have probably this year's like dark horse, because I found these by mistake. So stock, without EQ, the Ultra E20, I would say the technical performance is pretty good. It is more of a clean, balanced, neutral sound without EQ. And overall, the scoop might be a bit much for some people. So actually, no, without EQ, stock, I'm gonna say top of maybe. But with EQ, these are top tier. Basically a cheaper, more resolving technical version of the DEUCE for 4 times less. They have the same driver configuration. Both of them are 2 dynamic drivers. The DEUCE has a like more prolonged and deeper subwoofer sound. It is a better bass headset overall, but with EQ, you get pretty close to the DEUCE with the E20s. So overall, fantastic value if you're willing to EQ. Then after those, we have the DELCI AE. These are very good. I recommend them. I'll put them probably near the top of recommendations. If you want like a smoother version of the EW200, the DELCI AE with the silver nozzle or like the smoother nozzle is gonna be like a slightly better version of the EW200. Then after that, we have the KIWIEARS CANTA. So for some people, these are gonna be a no, because the treble can be a little bit much. It's very planar timbre. If you like a treble headset, I would say this is a niche pick. These have a lot of detail. Resolution is very good. It's just that the timbre is gonna throw some people off, so I'm gonna put it in niche. Next, we got its older brother, the KIWIEARS KE4. So these with scaling is very nice. I would put it in top tier. It's very immersive. It's like slightly bassy. Actually, not slightly. It's kind of bassy, but you still get the treble extension and air and the staging. So overall, it's just like a very immersive experience at high volume. But at mid volume, I would say it's a little bit too warm for me. It's definitely not a clean, balanced sound like some people are saying. But with some scaling, I would say it's pretty top tier. And then after those, we have the S12 2024 edition, which is the best implementation of the S12 series. It has the least planar timbre while being like still pretty good in the technical performance. So I would put this as a recommendation. I would put it probably like the near top. Next, we got the ZIIGAAT ODYSSEYs, which is one of my favorite IEMs that came out this year, like period. For me personally, I listen at high volumes, and I would put it at top tier for myself. However, if you listen at mid volume, this is more of like a maybe, because it is more relaxing. It is like kind of laid back. The vocals don't really pop out too much, but I do recommend you to listen to it at higher volumes. And once you crank these up, it's very immersive. You get lost in the sauce. And overall, the separation layering is also great. It's just a very musical set. And then after them, we have the HBB ZIIGAAT ARCADIAs. These are also a niche set, except for this is like a warmer version of the Explorer. It's like slightly bassier than Explorer. Scales very well, very good for hip hop and rap. I personally like the Odysseys more because my library works better with like, you know, indie acoustic stuff, which the Odyssey is better at. It's just cleaner, whereas on the Arcadia, it is a more bassier set that is more engaging when it comes to the drums. And then finally, we have the FATFREQ HBB DEUCE. This has been a shit show when it comes to the QC and the customer service and just like the logistics. If we're going off of that like purely, I would say no, like hell no. I still haven't got my unit yet after 5 months, right? So, but if you don't buy it from FATFREQ, you buy it from like Bloom, Linsel, Amazon, anywhere else, these are a very good niche set. They are one of the like only options at around $200 if you want a base head IEM, especially with the ohm adapters. The bass kind of go crazy. So just don't buy from FATFREQ and you're gonna be good, because these are pretty enjoyable overall if you like a very bassy IEM. But aside from that, that is it for today. My voice is gone, just like every other speedrun. I'm gonna also be doing a year-end speedrun where I just like speedrun and rank all the IEMs that came out in 2024. So stay tuned for that, coming up probably like next month. But aside from that, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see everyone in the next one. Shout out to Roark's Cat, Dom Q, Star Buccaneers, Discall Scaldus, B Urac, Mystic Spoon Attack, Oh Really, Walker Standard, User, Ernest, Patrick, Polly J, Mr. Gorillas, Anton Risto, Gis Seng Young, Ed Dunlap, Christopher Jackson, Name, Henry Claudia, Son of a Horse, 777 ZK, Ben Thompson, OB, Contain Guava Juice Gains, Treble Well Extended, Wizard, Frickalicious, Andric, Ricardo, Tapas, and Checo Norris. Thank you guys so much.